Okay then, now for enemies. Enemies are going to be really interesting. Enemies are going to do lots of things. You can see at this stage we've got quite a lot already going on, but it's not currently a game. It's interactive, but it's no way to win, and there's no currently any challenge or any goal to accomplish. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create an enemy. I'm going to start with my sprites as before. Right click, create sprite. I'm going to pull one from file because I just happen to know that there's a nice little spaceship that I like here. I'm going to get my UFO. You can again change it to your own, and I'm going to center the point of origin. I'm going to name it, as always, SPR underscore enemy. I'm going to do the same trick with object, create objects. I'm going to associate the enemy or the sprite with the object, obj underscore enemy. Again, remember that naming sprites and enemies or sprites and objects are really, really important. What we're going to have here is, just as before with our bullet, the enemy needs to know what to do as soon as it spawns. So that means create is important. As soon as it's created, we're going to do something. We're going to have all of our enemy spaceships starting by going to the right. So speed, we're familiar with this now. Speed equals, I'm going to make mine go a speed of 8. I've chosen 8 because it's a little bit faster than our player moves, a little bit slower than the bullet moves. So I've just chosen 8. Again, you can fiddle with these values to your heart's content. Direction, we want it to be going right. By now we should know that going right is direction 0. Just as before, I'm a stickler for testing. I'm going to go back to our room. I'm going to go back to our enemy. I'm going to place it on screen. The spaceship should move right, which it does, forever, and will carry on going. The challenge now is we're going to say the enemy needs to have certain behaviours when it interacts with our edge. So just like we did before, when we add an event, other, because it's something that's not perhaps a general thing that we'd use all the time, when we intersect the boundary of our room, we're going to add some more code. So control, code. This is going to be some interesting code, and let's explain what it does. So I'm going to start by taking the speed we're travelling at, which was 8, and I'm going to change that. So speed is going to equal. Also, whenever you've encountered an equal sign before, I want you to read equals as something different. I want you to read equals as becomes. So every time you see the word equals or you see the equal sign, read it as becomes in your mind. Speed becomes something different. It's going to become minus speed. Now that looks a bit peculiar, but the idea is, say if my speed is 8 and I touch a wall, I want it to become minus 8. And then because it's minus 8 when I touch the wall again, now it's positive 8 again. So it's going to kind of ping pong between minus and positives. The thing to notice here is, you see how I've done equals minus. Really important thing to note is in previous examples I might have done minus equals or plus equals. That does something entirely different to equals minus. Okay, so what we've got here, which is minus speed, set it to the opposite speed it currently is. And that's all it's going to need to do. But wouldn't be Space Invaders if the enemies didn't start moving towards you. So we're going to have them also jump down on screen. We're going to modify our Y coordinate. Remember, Y is to do with our vertical position on screen. So we're going to take our Y coordinate and we are going to add to that Y coordinate, because remember the top row of our screen is coordinate 0, then as we go down it becomes 10, 20, 30, 40, all the way down to the bottom of our screen, which is going to be 1,000 because that's what we set it to. If we want to go downwards, we need to add to where we are. So if we're currently on 20, we need to add to 30, to 40, to 50. So all we're going to say is plus equals. Remember, notice the difference here. That is equals minus. This is plus equals. This is add to something rather than becomes something different. So y is going to add 10 to it. So y plus equals 10. And I'm going to put a comment on here just to say reverses direction. And this line here is going to move down on screen. Apologies for any spelling mistakes. You do get bonuses for finding the spelling mistakes, by the way. So we have our spaceship that are now going left and right, and is kind of bouncing as the spaceship goes. Again, if you want to change the values, or you wanted that to go quicker or slower, or you wanted it to move more on screen, you can do that. All I'm going to do now is set it up really quickly, so we're going to have a bunch of enemies. So I'm just going to create a few of them, and I'm just going to evenly space them. You You can have as many as you like or as few as you like. We're going to set up a few. Make sure you have at least 2. So now we get this really nice patterning of the enemies. I'm going to change mine because I don't think 10 pixels down is enough, so I'm going to go back to my enemy. I'm going to go back to what happens when it intersects the boundary, and damn, I've forgotten what my code does. Isn't it good that I've put comments in here to remind me what it does? So it moves down on screen. Instead of just adding 10, I'm now going to add 30, and hopefully that should move it down. Again, value of comments to remind you what things do. And now they're not clipping anywhere near as much as they were before, which is giving us a much better result. This is the difference between making something functional and something that perhaps looks a little bit better. You will notice when I press space at the minute, my bullet will happily fly straight through the enemies. My bullet is doing exactly what it's been told, which is go up. That's all it knows. We're now going to need to change that to say when we touch the enemy, we destroy the enemy. So let's do that. Going to go back to object laser, and now we're going to start dealing with collision detection. Game Maker makes it really easy. Collision detection in a more in-depth game engine can be nightmarishly difficult. Game Maker is lovely and simple. What we need to say here is, again, I am the object laser. You always know which object you are by looking at the top left of the screen. And I'm going to check for a collision with the enemy. So the laser has touched the enemy. There's a few things we want to have happen here. The first thing we want to do is we want to destroy the enemy. So the enemy is an object. So just have a quick think. What keyword did we use earlier to do with creating or dealing with objects? Very good. Instance. There we go. First spelling mistake. Instance. Instance is an object. That's to do with an object, and we want to get rid of stuff. So we know that instance underscore create made stuff. So we can hazard a guess that instance underscore destroy is going to get rid of stuff. You'll notice again, looking at the bottom hand corner, the reason why this line of code is incomplete and the red thing is saying there's a problem is because we expect brackets. And that's telling us we need brackets. Don't need anything in them, but we need brackets. The challenge with instance underscore destroy is it doesn't always know which thing to get rid of. It thinks instance destroy would get rid of itself. We need to say get rid of the other thing. I'm involved in a collision. A collision can only ever involve 2 objects. I am the laser. I'm checking, am I touching the enemy? I want to destroy the enemy. This is where we need this first keyword, with. With is a very powerful phrase because it says, well, with what? What am I going to get rid of? With, again, brackets, because brackets are important to pass in our parameters. Other, with the other thing. So you'll notice that I've got brackets, regular brackets there. And now I'm going to introduce squigglies. Squigglies are really powerful. They're the ones next to P and between P and Enter on your keyboard. So I've opened a squiggly. You'll notice it's broken because you cannot have a squiggly by itself. It must have a partner. So I'm going to do a closed squiggly just on line 3. This is going to say, with the other thing, destroy it. And I'm going to pop a comment in there to say, do that. Select the enemy object, destroy that object. So let's see if that works. You will find now that we've made some sort of railgun. As the bullet shoots, it'll just carry on going. It'll just carry on blitzing through whatever it touches. And if that means it touches 2 spaceships or 3 spaceships, it'll just go straight through. We want to still say, when I touch the enemy, get rid of the enemy, and then get rid of ourselves. Okay? So with other instance destroy, we've done that before. And now I'm going to take instance destroy and I'm going to paste that underneath the squiggly. I do now want to get rid of myself as well. We'll go back to that in a second, but let's just make sure it works. That should get rid of both objects, meaning that gets rid of the laser, meaning you can't just have one laser beam that destroys and wins the entire game. So that destroys that object. I'm going to change that to destroy enemy object, and this one's going to stay destroy the laser. Oh dear, that's better. So those comments haven't really done anything, but you can now see that we've got AI movement and we've got our player now shooting and actively destroying it. We're now going to look at AI shooting.